Hey Mama, how's it going? It is Jocelyn here, and I am looking forward to recording another episode with you. I am currently pregnant with baby number 5, and I am striving to find positivity in this pregnancy, like the name of this podcast, because pregnancy has been hard for me. It has not been an enjoyable season of my life. I have not particularly loved pregnancy, which is why I have to try significantly harder to find positivity in pregnancy, and I'm excited and happy that you are joining me for this ride. Hi, I'm Jocelyn, host of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I help pregnant women and mothers to find positivity in their season of life through changing their thoughts to work for them and not against them. I help mothers find the small, doable steps in thought and action without making drastic changes to their everyday mom life. And I can help you. Thanks for joining. Okay, today I want to talk about something that has been on my mind a lot lately. If you listened to last week's episode, I talked about how we got sick and kind of dealing with that pain of being sick. We got these nasty head colds, and I'm on week 3 and I still have this disgusting cough, and it was rough. And I tried to find ways to deal with the pain in ways that helped, and those are in last week's episode if you were kind of dealing with some added pain in pregnancy. This week, though, I've been thinking a lot about time. And what has come to my mind a lot is I'm getting further in pregnancy, so within 3 months, my baby will be born. And so I just keep thinking, within 3 months, this will all be done and over with. And I don't know if that's a wise thought to think, because it kind of makes the days long. And so I wanted to give me and hopefully you some tips to help when you're just can this last 3 months? Can I sleep it off? Can we be done yet? So I want to give you some tips when you feel like you're kind of sitting around and occupied, but you desire to not have that kind of hanging over your head, that you just want time to pass. I want me and you to be able to enjoy these next 3 months, or whatever you have left in your pregnancy, at whatever point you are listening to this podcast. I know sometimes it would feel easy if we could just wish that time away, but we can't. And so instead of just sitting there in misery, I'm going to give you some tips on things that help me with passing the time, and things that I'm working on and trying to do to not have to think about how much time I have left, because sometimes that can be really discouraging, and I don't want us to be discouraged. I want us to be encouraged and finding light and joy amid this season that, even though is really hard, is actually pretty beautiful. And it's pretty stunning when you sit down and consider what your body is doing right now. It is creating a human within your body. And the things that it's going through to create that little baby is just amazing. And it's a miracle. So think about the miracle of pregnancy. My first tip, though, is to keep your mind busy. You've probably heard before that the idle mind can be the devil's workshop. And I feel this is true. If your mind is idle a lot, you're going to be thinking a lot more about how miserable you are and about how hard this pregnancy is, which is going to take you into negativity, which is where the devil wants you to stay, because he wants you to have a mindset that says, I hate pregnancy. This is too hard and I can never do this again because of how difficult it is. So if your mind is has some spare time and that's all you're thinking about, is the devil winning? He's not winning, because we are not going to let him. We are going to choose to keep our mind busy. So what are some ways that you can keep your mind busy? The first tip, so the main thing that I want to talk about is keeping your mind busy, and then give a bunch of suggestions for keeping your mind busy. If you are in that really sick phase of pregnancy, these tips may not work. You may find some that work, but I know when I was really sick, I couldn't do a whole lot of extra, and I have a lot of other podcasts on what to do when you are feeling that sickness. But I always like to give that little disclaimer, because sometimes when you're sick and you feel like you should be doing more stuff, you should be doing these things, it adds another layer of guilt. And that's the last thing I want to do, is I don't want to add another layer of guilt. So I'll try and link a couple of those episodes of things you can do when you're in that first trimester and very sick. But do something crafty. So I have been picking up crafts that I've never done before. This year I picked up embroidery. I did an embroidery little thing. I don't even know what they're called, like a fabric embroidery. And I chose to frame it. I did finish it. I also picked up crocheting, and I have crocheted a hat. I've crocheted some little face scrubbies, and I just finished with my first little pig. Now, this has been a process, and I can't tell you how many times I've had to call my neighbor or look on YouTube to try and figure this out. Nonetheless, it has really helped to keep my mind busy. And it also has been an example to my kids that instead of just scrolling on my phone, I am trying to find ways to fill my time rather than scrolling. And now look what I have from doing that. I have a framed embroidery. I have a cute, it actually did turn out really cute. I'm proud of that one. That is the hat, the little winter hat that I made. And then the face scrubbies. And what was the last? Oh, the pig. Yeah. I have things to show now that I wouldn't have had to show if I had just spent that time scrolling on my phone. So keep your mind busy by trying to learn something different. There are so many different kinds of arts and crafts, things that you can do to keep your mind busy. Maybe it's carving or knitting or painting. Or I really like this YouTuber who buys things at the thrift store and then uphauls them, kind of like repaints them or makes them cute somehow and then resells them. Maybe try something like that. Or think about cooking. Like, there's so many avenues. What interests you that you can keep your mind busy and keep it away from scrolling and keep it away from negativity? So that was kind of my first step under keeping your mind busy. Oh, writing was another thing I wanted to say. Maybe think about writing. Maybe write a children's book or start some type of fun fantasy if writing is your thing. Think about what is coming to you and start trying to do that to occupy your mind to help that time pass. The next thing that I have found enjoyable, which I haven't really given myself permission in the past to do this, but I was reading a book, and one of the exercises she suggested in this book, this is not pregnancy related, but it has helped me, is to think about things that you want. So there have been times where I haven't wanted to crochet or embroider or spend the time figuring out how to do that stitch on YouTube. And so, but I haven't wanted to turn to my phone. She suggests to think of things that you want. Now, I probably thought that this was a very selfish kind of way of thinking, but it actually has helped me to get out of negativity by thinking about the things that I want. So I want you to think about the things you want. What do you aspire to? Do you want a house? Would you like to have a big yard? Would you like property? Would you like a nice apartment in the city? Would you like financial freedom? Would you like to write a book? Be thinking about things that you desire to have in your life and for your children. And that actually has been a good way for me to positively pass the time instead of sitting there thinking, oh, this is so hard, is to just allow myself to have fun in thinking about things that I want. This was also mentioned in last week's podcast, but distracting the mind is can be very useful. It can help you to get away from negativity. And the next tip that goes along with all of these is to read a book or listen to a book or a podcast. If you work, you probably don't have as much free time to think about all the things that are hard because you're occupied with your work. But if you're a stay-at-home mom, it can weigh on your mind quite a bit because, of course, you're doing a lot of work and caring for your children, but you also have some free time that you don't really have. Like, as you work, you can just think about these things, like as you do some laundry or wash the dishes or pick up the front room. Your mind is just kind of still going, which is why it is so important to start training it with these types of things. So use a book or a podcast to help give you distraction. That's actually one of my videos is about the art of distraction in my mini course. If you are really struggling and you're like, finding positivity is really hard for me, I have made a mini course, and it's for the moms who are struggling with morning sickness. Well, that's what it's made for, but it's so valuable for all of pregnancy, but I'm marketing to the women in that phase because that's when it was hardest for me. Nonetheless, it's a bunch of videos where I encourage you on pregnancy, where I encourage you to find gratitude, where I encourage you to change the negative things in pregnancy to positive things. And I give you a load of pregnancy affirmations to help you when you're just like, oh my gosh, this is hard. This is really hard. They are 2 to 6 minute videos, and there are 46 different ones. And I listed one of them that's in that series about the art of distraction and the categories for the other ones. And it can be a very powerful way to help you lift your mind, to help it be more positive and more God-centered, because that's what God wants. Childbearing is hard. It is not easy. But God wants us women to be strong and to overcome. And we do that through intentionally choosing things like this course or like the things I've suggested in this podcast. I know you can do this. I have moments where I can do it too, and I have moments where I fail, and I'm not so good at it, but we're trying. We're human, and we're trying to get better together, Mama. So keep trying with me. Don't give up. I wanted to just kind of summarize a little bit of what I talked about, and most of it was about keeping your mind busy so that you don't have to wish that time would pass. You can keep your mind busy by doing a craft, writing, crocheting, knitting, thinking about things you want, reading a book, listening to a podcast, and so on and so forth. Try one of these, and if you feel that it helps you, give me a shout out. I have a Facebook page and group called Pregnancy is Hard, and I also have my email in the show notes, and I would love to hear from you. I love podcasting, but it does feel kind of one-sided sometimes. So I love anytime I get a little bit of feedback because it doesn't happen very often. So if you feel to do that, reach out and let's connect and work through this together. You are amazing. Keep up the good work. And remember that pregnancy really is a miracle. Your body is doing amazing things. I am cheering for you. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, for listening, for sharing, and most of all, for applying these tools into your own life to improve your own happiness so that you can find your own better thoughts for a better you in a positive pregnancy, in losing that stubborn baby weight, and becoming the mom you desire to be, through taking small steps in thought and action to reach your goals. If you are a mother who has an inner desire to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy better, but you are having difficulty figuring it out, I can help you. I can help you find the small, doable steps without drastic changes to your everyday mom life. Reach out. Let's connect. And let's see you move forward. My name is Jocelyn, and I thank you for listening. Until next time.